From Astro Boy to Demon Slayer, anime has reached millions of souls throughout the years. But today I'm here to cover the top 5 most influential animes to exist in my time. Now, of course, there are a lot of animes out there and everybody's gonna have one of their favorites. So I'd love to hear your top 5 favorite anime if you can leave a list below. But let's get into it. Number 5, the one that revolutionized the mecha genre, and that is Mobile Suit Gundam. Mobile Suit Gundam introduced a brand new style of anime featuring mobile suits or giant humanoid robots, which were used to fight wars instead of just the pilots themselves. Humanity had moved into space and lived in clusters of colonies called sides. After one of the colonies declares war upon the government, Earth Federation, her colony proclaims itself as Principality Zeon, and humanoid robots known as mobile suits ready for battle. Earth Federation developed mobile suits soon after and called them Gundams. After this, mecha became a popular genre in Japan following World War II, as the country began to experience rapid economic and technological growth. Number 4 is the introduction of cyberpunk to anime, and that is Akira. Akira takes place in a post-apocalyptic Tokyo city at the end of World War III, leading to a new city called Neo-Tokyo as its restored version. It is a crime and gang-ridden dystopia in a cyberpunk world, where gangs versus our main characters that lead to explosions that are about to take over the entire area. Now, Akira broke down the stigma of all animation is for kids by introducing mature themes and graphic imagery to the medium. And most of all, it popularized the cyberpunk genre, and it broke through all the typical narratives for the industry itself. Number 3, and one that I love to meme on a lot, which is Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon is the magical girl trope taken to 10. This is the one that is probably the beginner of all of that Supergirls anime, and I think it does it amazingly. Of course, I'm a huge fan of Tuxedo Mask, primarily for the meme. But Sailor Moon is the ordinary schoolgirl who finds magical powers and helps fight back against evil villains. Now she uses her powers to fight monsters, and of course, finding out she's the lost princess of the Moon Kingdom, and all of her other sisters, the Sailor Guardians. Now, of course, this was changed a lot when it came to America, as the Japanese version deals with a lot more themes than the American version does, but it is also one of the most influential, you would say, girl anime, but girl trope anime, and I think it would be kind of a shame to not include them inside this list. Number 2, and one that I've watched since my childhood, and that's because this is probably the anime you never knew was an anime when you were a kid, and that is, of course, Pokémon. Pokémon was a lot of people's in my generation's first anime because it took over inside of the schools and inside of card games and games altogether, but most of all, it was an anime that was easily available. I remember watching it early on TV, and it is one of those ones that if you didn't tell people that they were watching anime, a lot of them wouldn't know. They would just assume it's just Pokemon. Well, Pokemon did change the way that a lot of people looked at anime because it kind of popularized itself across the US in all sorts of ways. It was something that was easily adaptable for kids, and then something that adults grew into as well. And after over 20 years of being part of the Pokemon world, I think that it definitely solidifies itself in one of the top 5 most influential animes, especially for our generation. Now, the Pokemon game also is one of the most played games that exist on Nintendo, and it has been going for, again, over 20 years. So to see an anime that not only reaches an absolute monster of a time in production for anime, but for manga and for video games and for card games, I think Pokemon takes the cake on the most area covered and the most introduction to the genre possible. And then number 1, and I think it's primarily because it was what introduced me to, I guess, more of the adult style anime. It is the pioneer of the shonen genre, and that is Dragon Ball. Of course, if you're familiar with Dragon Ball, you probably know Dragon Ball Z and then Dragon Ball Super and the kind of offspring child Dragon Ball GT. You may or may not know that one, but The Dragon Ball series is just one of those series that showed up on Adult Swim and everybody just started watching it on Toonami, all of that stuff, and it kind of took over. I can't imagine how many people I know that just absolutely fell in love with This Time on Dragon Ball Z. It's one of those things that it's almost as iconic as a joke as it is as iconic as it is for a actual production. The story of Goku and through his life has been one that has basically grown up with an entire generation. And I think that it's primarily because of its ability to just pioneer the entire foundation of the shonen anime has led us to things such as My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer and countless other stories. And because of that, I have to leave it as my number one for the most influential anime. With that being said, of course, there is countless animes that you could rank as your top 5. Things that are newer, things like Demon Slayer and again My Hero Academia, all the way to some of the older ones, like I said again before, Astro Boy, which is the absolute introduction to anime inside of the world. Or if you want to look at some of the also super amazing ones like Cowboy Bebop, that was defining to the entire Western world for what anime is going to be and what it should be for them. You also get into animes that have been going on for thousands of episodes like One Piece, or some of the newer ones that obviously haven't had as much time to grow are one that we just recently covered, the Terminator anime, Terminator Zero. So again, we would love to hear what kind of anime gets you excited and what kind of things that you would love to hear us cover about as well. Thank you all for checking out the video. We'll see you on the next one.